The day my uncle kicked me out, the Florida sky cracked open with thunder. Not a soft summer storm, but a full-on downpour. Lightning, wind, sheets of rain pelting the driveway as he flung my backpack into the street like I was yesterday's trash. No niece of mine is going to waste her potential on some low-level tech job, he shouted, gripping the resignation letter I'd left on his desk at the family accounting firm. His voice echoed across the coral-colored stucco walls of our Tampa estate. We are a family of professionals, Camila. Doctors, CPAs, executives, not IT support. I watched my backpack hit the puddles, knowing my prototype code, the very start of a tool I designed to combat financial fraud, was safely saved to the cloud. But it still hurt. That bag had my laptop, my journals, and the last bit of comfort from the only home I'd ever known. Tio, please, I said quietly. The entry-level job at FinSafe is just a foot in the door. I've got a roadmap. A roadmap? He barked out a bitter laugh. Camila Vega, you had a future. The partner promotion at the firm, the engagement to Paul Ramirez, a respectable path. Not this ridiculous startup dream. My aunt lingered in the doorway, biting her lip. Paul's family invited us to brunch on Sunday. He still wants to talk to you. I canceled the engagement because I want my own career. Tia, I don't want to marry into stability. I want to build it. His face hardened. You're throwing away a finance degree from Wharton to answer tech support tickets? To be a nobody. If he'd bothered reading my business plan, he would have known that job was my way into FinSafe's infrastructure so I could learn their weaknesses so I could build something better. But he never listened. Go, he said, ice in his voice. You want to chase nonsense? Fine. Just don't expect us to catch you when it fails. Mateo, my aunt whispered. He slammed the door behind him. She's not my niece anymore. I stood in the rain, scooping up my soaked bag with shaking hands. That day, I lost my family. But I started building my future. 3 years of secret coding, 3 years of pretending to care about asset depreciation and tax loopholes while quietly building my fraud detection algorithm had led to this moment. I looked at my aunt, still standing in the open doorway, one hand resting on the frame like she wasn't sure if she should step out or step back. Tia, I said softly, aren't you going to say anything? She looked toward the house where Uncle Mateo was no doubt in his leather-wrapped study, pouring himself a scotch, furious and self-righteous. Maybe, she whispered. Maybe in a few months when you realize this was a mistake. Then she gently closed the door behind her. I turned back to the house I'd grown up in. Spanish tiles, palm-lined driveway, and the Vega and Vega CPA sign shining next to my uncle's Lexus. Then I slid into my dented old Honda and drove away from the life they'd designed for me. My new place wasn't much, a converted guest house in an aging Tampa suburb with unreliable plumbing and roaches the size of golf balls. But it had fiber internet and just enough room for my monitors and towers. The entry-level tech support job at FinSafe paid scraps. But I wasn't in it for the money. Every day I answered tickets about crashed browsers and frozen dashboards. But behind that headset, I was watching, learning, mapping the architecture of their systems, how their protections worked and how they didn't. At night, I coded. The algorithm I started building in Excel macros during audit reviews was evolving. Now, it was a dynamic fraud prevention model, one that could recognize subtle patterns and shut them down before they turned into breaches. 2 months in, I got a call from Paul. Camila, this has gone far enough. My father says your uncle might take you back. We can still do the wedding. Just put this fantasy behind you. I hung up, blocked his number. 6 months after I left, it happened. During a random QA scan, my tool flagged a buried exploit in their system, something their top-tier defenses had missed. Quietly, I reported it. Days later, I was summoned to a glass-walled office overlooking downtown. Mrs. Alvarez, the head of cybersecurity, folded her hands. Can you explain how you found this? I met her eyes. Actually, I've been developing a new protocol. I can show you. 3 hours later, I walked out with my first development contract. Small, but it was mine. Enough to leave support and go full-time into building what I believed in. That night, I sent my uncle and aunt an email titled, "Update. I'm not coming back." The response came from my aunt's email, but every word dripped with my Uncle Mateo's tone. Tech support to junior developer. Hardly the kind of legacy we envisioned for a Wharton graduate. The Ramirezes asked about you at brunch. Paul is still unmarried. I didn't finish reading, just closed the email and went back to my code. The next year blurred by in lines of Python and long nights. My protocol evolved, growing smarter, faster, and far more effective than anything on the market. That first contract with FinSafe opened doors. Then came inquiries from Stripe, then Apple, then a quiet email from someone at the Department of Defense. I left the converted guest house behind and moved into a modest condo, then a bigger one, then a sleek loft in Tampa's budding tech corridor. I brought on one developer, then 3 more, then a team of 50. That's how Vega Guard Systems was born. But I kept my name off every filing, let them think some anonymous cybersecurity prodigy was behind it. I had my reasons. My aunt's messages trickled in every few months, mostly links to Bar Association galas or articles about Paul Ramirez's political ambitions. I archived them without opening a single one. Meanwhile, offers poured in. Acquisitions, VC deals, billion-dollar buyouts. I turned them all down. I wanted control. I earned control. As headlines swirled about the mysterious founder of Vega Guard, I hired a charismatic CEO named Tyler Hunt to be the face. He was perfect for interviews and investor calls. I stayed underground coding, testing, improving. One afternoon, my chief of staff, Serena, knocked and peeked into my office. "Camila, Forbes is asking again. They're doing the 30 under 30 list. Tell them to talk to Tyler," I said, eyes still on my screen. "They don't want Tyler. They know it's you. They're publishing with or without you." I froze. "How?" I asked. "Probably that intern from FinSafe. He never signed the right NDA." I leaned back in my chair, imagining my uncle's face the day he shoved my laptop into the rain. All those emails, all those warnings. "Fine," I said. "I'll do it, but I have one condition." 2 weeks later, I sat in my glass-walled office holding an advanced copy of Forbes. Across the cover in bold print, Camila Vega, 26-year-old founder of Vega Guard Systems, youngest self-made cybersecurity billionaire. My phone buzzed, my aunt's name. I watched it ring, then let it go to voicemail. If you've ever been underestimated, judged, or told your dreams were unrealistic, hit subscribe because Camila's story isn't over and neither is yours. The Forbes article dropped on a Tuesday. By Wednesday morning, Uncle Mateo's accounting firm had lost 3 of its biggest corporate clients to firms using modern cybersecurity solutions. By Thursday, they'd lost 5 more. My phone, it hadn't stopped buzzing. My aunt had called 37 times. My uncle 18. Even Paul Ramirez had tried messaging me on LinkedIn. No doubt after hearing his father's consulting group lost 2 contracts over security concerns. Friday morning, Serena popped her head into my office. "Camila, your uncle and aunt are downstairs." I glanced up from my workstation. "They brought backup," she said carefully. "The Ramirezes, both senior and junior." Of course they had. This wasn't a family visit. This was business, desperate last-ditch business. "They're not on the schedule," I said, tightening the belt on my blazer. "No, but your uncle tried to strong-arm the security team with legal jargon." "Your aunt's crying." I turned toward the window. 3 buildings now bore Vega Guard's logo. "Send them up," I said. "And activate Protocol Rosa." Protocol Rosa, my personal favorite, was named after my grandmother, the only one who believed in me. She secretly bought me my first computer. Now, her name was tied to a live visual demonstration of every breach we'd prevented in the last 24 hours. As the elevator climbed to the 30th floor, screens across my office lit up in sync, attack maps, defense logs, live comparisons between compromised firms and our protected partners. The doors opened. Uncle Mateo barged in first, gripping Forbes like a legal brief. My aunt trailed behind, eyes red and tearful. The Ramirezes followed, stiff and uneasy. "How dare you?" Mateo barked. "How dare you humiliate this family like this?" "Humiliate?" I asked, eyes calm. "By creating a billion-dollar company that protects firms like yours from hemorrhaging clients? Do go on." "You lied to us," my aunt cried. "All this time pretending to be some IT assistant." "I never lied. You just never asked." I glanced at Paul. Too busy forwarding articles about Paul's career or pushing brunch invites to notice what I was building. Paul stepped forward, smile rehearsed. "Camila, come on. Maybe we can realign our goals, merge our interests." "A merger," I echoed, then gestured at the glowing displays. "No one skips the audit," I said. "Not even family." I smiled, cool, measured. Even for family, there were limits. "We're not just any potential clients," Uncle Mateo snapped. "We're your family. You owe us." I rose from my chair slowly. "Do I?" I walked around my desk, facing him directly. "Let's talk about what I owe you. Should we start with the day you tossed my things into the rain? Or maybe when you told everyone at the Gulf Shore Country Club I was having a breakdown? Or how about when you tried to have me declared legally incompetent just so I couldn't touch my trust fund?" His face darkened. "That was for your own good. You were throwing away a future." "A future you planned," I said, pressing a button on my desk. The screens behind me shifted, now showing Vega Guard's real-time stock value and total market valuation. The numbers blinked, bold and impossible to ignore. "You mean this?" I gestured. "The company valued higher than every accounting firm in the city combined? The system protecting 80% of Fortune 500s, the technology behind a new $2 billion federal contract." My aunt collapsed into a chair, her silk scarf balled in her hand. "But why didn't you tell us? Were you really going to listen?" I asked, folding my arms. I remember clearly. Uncle Mateo said I wasn't his niece anymore. That no family of his worked in IT. "That was 3 years ago," she whispered. "We were worried." "No, you were worried about appearances, about the broken engagement with Paul, and what the neighborhood would say." Paul stepped forward, still trying to salvage his charm. "Camila, we can move past that. Let's grab dinner. Talk it over." I hit another button. A contract appeared on the wall-size screen. "This is Vega Guard's standard audit agreement," I said calmly. "If your firms want to work with us, you'll sign this. The fee is $50,000 per audit, non-negotiable." "50,000? Judge Ramirez stammered. "That's extortion." "Actually, it's a bargain," I replied. "Ask the clients you've lost." I returned to my desk. "Serena will send over the paperwork. Standard processing is 6 to 8 weeks." "Weeks?" Mateo shouted. "We're bleeding clients now. You should have thought of that before dismissing cybersecurity as beneath you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a board meeting." "Camila Isabella Vega," my aunt said, her voice trembling. "This isn't over." "It is," I said, nodding to the security team near the elevator. "They'll show you out." "Oh, and that reserved parking spot at Vega and Vega? You might want to reassign it." The Vega name's got more weight in tech now. After they left, Serena brought in a fresh coffee. "Your aunt left this," she said, handing me an old photo. "She wanted to give it to you herself," Serena said, placing a small frame on my desk, but she didn't have the courage. It was a photo of me at 12, hunched over my first computer in the corner of my grandparents' den, a gift from Abuela Rosa. I smiled. Of course, Uncle Mateo had hated it. "Computers will rot her brain," he'd scoffed. But Abuela Rosa had leaned in close and whispered, "Keep going, Mija." Then she slipped me books about logic gates and C++ under the table at family dinners. "Some people build empires with spreadsheets," she told me. "You'll build yours with code." I propped the photo beside the Forbes cover on my desk. On one side, a 12-year-old girl dreaming in front of a clunky monitor. On the other, a woman who turned those dreams into billions. The following weeks brought wave after wave of attempted reconciliation. My aunt emailed daily, shifting from guilt to bargaining to subtle manipulation. Uncle Mateo's firm submitted to our full audit, paid in full. Paul Ramirez sent a sleek, cherry-red Tesla to my building. I donated it to a local girls in tech nonprofit. I stayed focused. We rolled out a revolutionary new protocol integrating adaptive AI, acquired 2 bleeding-edge startups. My net worth quietly doubled, then tripled. But none of it distracted me from the date I'd circled in my calendar and heart, Abuela Rosa's birthday, the first since she passed. I visited her grave alone, placing a bundle of roses and a laminated copy of the Forbes issue beside her headstone. "You were right, Abuela," I whispered. "I built something bigger than they ever imagined." I stood in silence until I sensed movement behind me. My aunt. She looked smaller somehow, older, not scolding, not polished, just unsure. "The roses," she said gently. "That computer was her idea." "I know." She insisted. Said she saw something in you. I was against it. But she said you had fire, the kind she recognized. She held out another photograph. Abuela and me both laughing, wires tangled between us. "She left this for you." "And a letter," she hesitated. "I was supposed to give it to you if you ever succeeded. But I didn't think you would. Not in tech." I unfolded the note in Abuela Rosa's looping script. "Majida, if you're reading this, you've already proven them wrong. I always knew you would. Your parents don't know," the letter read. "They never understood that true success isn't about following traditions. It's about creating new ones. Prove them wrong, Mija. Then prove them right about one thing, that you're still their daughter even if you chose a different path. Love, Abuela Rosa." I looked up at my aunt. Really looked at her for the first time in years. The tight perfection of her hair and pearls couldn't hide the weariness or the weight of regret behind her carefully curated posture. "I have a board meeting in an hour," I said, folding the letter with care and slipping it into my jacket pocket. "But maybe we could get coffee next week, just us." Her eyes welled. "I'd like that." It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe it was the start of something new. That evening, I added 2 things to my office wall, Abuela's letter and the photo of us at my first computer. Between them, I framed a single page of code, the original build of the protocol that started it all. My phone buzzed. "Serena, your uncle's firm passed the audit, approved the client agreement." I glanced at the wall. 12-year-old me grinning at a CRT monitor. The Forbes cover. The letter that told me I'd make it long before I did. Make them add a clause. They have to update the parking permit first. Vega Guard Systems has a nice ring to it. Because sometimes success isn't about proving them wrong. Sometimes it's about proving yourself right. And sometimes, just sometimes, it's about building your own way home. Even if it takes $1 billion bridge to get there. If you've ever been underestimated, pushed aside, or told your dreams didn't matter, I hope my story reminded you that quiet strength is still strength. I built something powerful when no one believed in me. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove me right. Leave a comment below. Share your story, your turning point, or simply a word of encouragement. I read them all. And if you're still in the middle of your journey, here's my advice. Trust your spark even when others can't see it. Subscribe and stay with me because we're just getting started, and I'm not done building.